be showing you a little bit of stuff about Vcv Rack. Now, as of the creation of this video, it is October 15th, 2021, and next month, November 2021, Vcv Rack 2 is coming out. Now, Vcv Rack 2 is not going to be free, but it comes with some pretty cool improvements, and one of the biggest upgrades they're doing is they're finally doing a VST version of Vcv Rack. So you can open it up in your DAW and send it MIDI straight from your piano roll and sample it right in your DAW, and that's going to be such a game changer for me. I love modular stuff. I love Vcv Rack, and I don't spend enough time in it because I can't open it in Ableton, and I'd rather usually just open up Ableton and do some stuff in Ableton. So I thought I'd get a head start and just start making more videos about Vcv Rack because it's a really great resource. You should definitely download it. And yeah, it can be a bit confusing at first, so let me help you kind of understand how to set up a simple patch in Vcv Rack. So let's go. So here's Vcv Rack. You can enlarge the size of the UI like so. So here's a simple patch I have going. So let's start from scratch. So I'm just going to delete this. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete this. So this is our audio input output, and you can choose your driver if you're on Windows or whatever. And then you can choose your output device. Here's a simple mixer that it will it'll open up with a basic patch, and this will be part of it. Let's get rid of that too, because I want you to understand how to find what you need. And I'm going to go over some basic terminology that you need to understand to start patching. So we'll leave this scope because that's kind of useful, and we have this audio output. And this master recorder too, this will record a WAV file straight into a folder that you choose. So I can't remember quite how to choose a destination. Okay, yeah, so when you click start, it'll open up your browser, and then you can choose the file name and where you're going to put it. So I'm going to make a quick folder for some sounds that we're going to make. And I'll put that in my sample pack under longer samples, and we'll just call it, let's see, I think I have a folder for modular. I think I called it Idea Jams, yeah. So in here I have Idea Jams Modular, and this is where I like to keep a lot of my long modular patches. Let's see if I have one for Vcv Rack. No, I don't. So let's put one in here for Vcv Rack. So now we have that folder in there, and then I'm going to actually hit cancel because I don't have anything to record yet. But now we have that folder. So how do you add modules in here to get a patch going? So you can go up to your library, and then it'll show you all the updates that you're ready for, and you can, if you have a little red dot, that means you have updates, and you can update stuff. I'm not going to do that right now. But you notice there's no browser up here. The way you get to the browser is you just right-click on the screen, and that'll bring up your browser. And then you can filter what you're searching for through these different types of things. So I'll go over the basic components to start a patch. And then we'll go from there. You can also filter by maker if you have a specific brand that you want. to work with. That's cool. So I think the first thing we're going to want is a mixer. So I'm going to go here to mixer. And you can see we have tons of mixers. I think the mixer that I want to use, let's look for a simple mixer. Let's use this one. I have this one in hardware format. This is actually a model of the Mutable Instruments Veils, which is a CV controllable mixer / quad VCA, which is a voltage controlled amplifier. So we need something to control this VCA with, to make the amplitude go up and down, to make the noise go up and down. So let's now, if you click the selected filter again, you see the gray goes away, and so it's not going to select the mixer anymore, and we can go to envelope. Envelope generator. So that's what we want to look for. And let's choose an envelope generator. So I'm a big fan of Instruo, which is a modular company. So let's get this modular ADSR. This is an envelope. And then we're going to need an oscillator. So let's look for oscillators now. So I'll click on oscillator, and I have all these oscillators we can choose from. I think it'd be good to show you the Instruo oscillator. I think, is this it? Yeah. So let's play with this. It can be good to have a filter too. So let's go to filters. And I think I'll go with this multi-variable filter by Instruo. And so we're also going to need something to sequence with. So I'm going to go in and grab a sequencer. So I'll click on sequencers, and there's tons of sequencers in here. I'm a pretty big fan of the Metropolis style sequencer. So let's get one of these. This is like IntelliGel style sequencer. So now we have the basic recipe for patch. But I think it'd be good to have some LFOs. So let's get an LFO out. I'm going to go to low frequency oscillator. And let's get an oct. This is kind of just a free running LFO with variable speed that you can modulate. And if you right click, you can actually duplicate modules. So we want quite a few of these little LFOs because those are going to be helpful to get movement into our patch. So this sequencer is always running, and you can choose the clock speed with this little clock knob up here. So we can slow down and speed up the sequencer, but you can see there's no BPM going. It might be good to set a specific BPM. So it could be good to have what's called a clock generator. So let's go to clock generator, and let's just get this clock generator out here. And here we can choose the BPM. So let's do 150. And let's just put that next to our sequencer. And if you click your middle mouse button, you can grab the screen and just kind of move it around like this. And that's kind of a helpful trick. to navigate, and you can also, I think you can zoom out if you hold Control and scroll. So if you have a huge patch, you can zoom out and be like, okay, here's my this section, here's my that section. In Vcv Rack 2, you're going to be able to select groups of modules and move them around. That'll be really nice. But for now, you got to move them one at a time. So let's first get our audio to a place where we can hear it. So I'm going to take our oscillator here. This is our oscillator right here. And we have our tuning knob here. So the output, I believe, is right here where it says out. So we can take that and we can put it into our VCA where it says in. And then we can take that VCA and go into our scope. And if we turn the VCA up, you can see we're getting audio. So we're ready to take the output of our VCA and go into 1. And so it's in the left, and then this little 2, this is the right. So this is a stereo input, so we can take both, and now we'll have stereo. So now we have stereo. So next thing we want to do is we want to be able to control this VCA with our envelope. So we'll take the CV out, which stands for control voltage, and we'll go into this little hole right here. And this is the modulation input. So now they're not going to hear anything. So you have to turn this volume knob up on the VCA. And let's do kind of a linear response. This is a linear to exponential response. Ow, that was really loud. So still really loud. So we can manually trigger that, and we can switch it from gate to trigger here. So if it's on gate, we can click and hold this and let go, and then we'll get the sound. So let's put the sustain down and the release down, and let's make a little plucky shape. Cool. So with this little knob here, you can choose to curve it into like an exponential shape from linear. So that's good for a little plucky envelope. So let's get a sequence going. So we have this sequencer here, and you can see that this says gate, and it's red, which means it's an output. So we can take that, and we can put it into our trigger input on the envelope. So now we have a sequence going. So the cool thing about this sequencer here is it has a built-in quantizer. So we can choose a scale. Right now it's an Aeolian. So let's just mess with Aeolian. And up here where it says pitch, this is where you can set your notes for your sequence. So I'll just get a little melodic sequence going. So you're not hearing the pitch change, and that's because I need to route this volt per octave right here. This is the pitch output. It says V over O, which stands for volt per octave. And that is going to allow us to control the pitch of our oscillator right here. And you can see it says 1 volt per octave input right here on the oscillator. So if we connect that, now we'll be able to get a little melodic sequence going. Interesting. So we're getting a weird chord kind of overlap going. And I think that's because I went into the wrong volt per octave here. See how there's a couple different inputs and then there's this like main input? So maybe this is the one we need to go into. So if we want this to be in time with our project, say we have an Ableton project going, we can use our clock generator here to use the BPM of whatever we're using in our project. And then if you look here, it says BPM, which is going to be the BPM out. And then we have a couple different divisions, quarter, eighth, 16, 12. So let's try the BPM first and go into our external clock input. And we can click run, and then I think we have to click run here on our clock. And now you can see the sequencer is looping around. So basic sequence. If we want to spice up the sequence now, we can do some cool things with this sequencer. So you can see this gate mode right here. We can change the gate mode. So let's play with the gate mode. So here on the pulse count, you can choose to repeat a note however many times you want. I chose 3 on this just to make the sequence a bit odd. And I think the next thing we should do is use this filter. So I'm going to take our output of the oscillator, and instead of going right into the VCA, I'm going to go into the filter first. And then I can go out of any of these. So low pass, band pass, high pass, and notch. So let's just do the low pass first. Nice juicy low pass. And listen to that. So it's nice to have a dedicated envelope for your filter. So I'll get a duplication of that envelope, and we'll just nudge some of this stuff over so that we can fit in our envelope for the filter. And I'll put it between the oscillator and the filter, and then we can use this envelope if we connect the gate to our sequencer. Now we can take the CV out and go into our modulation input. And there's several different modulation inputs we can go into. Let's first go into this FM. Actually, let's first, so see how this little Q? So this CV input is for the Q, and then this is for the frequency modulation. So let's modulate the frequency. So that's sounding a lot better already. Let's have this filter track volt per octave along with our sequence. So I'll connect the volt per octave to the volt per octave of our sequencer. So I think it could be cool to add an effect. There's some pretty cool effects in Vcv Rack. So let's check out some effects. We have granular right here, and we have clouds. So we can pull up clouds. This is a texture synthesizer is what they call it. I call it a fancy reverb. So we can go into the clouds, and we'll just go into the left input because that'll default to mono input, and then we can take our outputs and we can actually go straight into our output up here. So let's listen to that now. So that's sounding pretty nice. This this texture synth is really great. So it has these different modes that you can cycle through and then choose the amount of dry wet for each of the modes, and then this white knob is the overall dry wet. So one of them is going to be for the density, and then one is going to be for the texture, and then one of them is going to be for the reverb, which is last in the chain. And then you can modulate a bunch of stuff on this to make it sound better, but it sounds pretty good set like that too. So I think it could be cool to get some harmony going on. So maybe we will grab a, well, actually we could just duplicate some stuff. So let's duplicate our sequencer and we'll put it down here. And we'll get another lane of stuff going. So we can take the BPM out of our main clock here, and then both of these will be in tune. But you can see they're not in sync. So the way to do that is to use this reset option, and you can find that, I think it's one of these. Oh, right at the top here it says reset, and you can click it to reset, or you can send it a reset. So it could be cool to, let's see, let's use the divide by 8 to reset the sequencers. So let's see if we can get our whole sequence. I'm going to hit play. So that's too fast. That's too fast of a reset. What we can use is a clock divider. So if we go in here, we can go up and we can check out clock modulators. And I think we'll have some clock dividers in here. So this says it's a clock divider, so let's try that. So we can take our clock input, and then these are divisions of that clock. So let's use the 16, and let's try using that as our reset. So I'm liking that. It's pretty nice. So let's get a harmony going. So one thing we can do is just use this sequencer to create a new harmony, but let's get a different oscillator. Let's use something else. I'll show you some cool stuff. So if we go into Audible Instruments, Audible. This is like, oh wait, no, I think it is Audible. Yeah, Audible Instruments is like the official Mutable Instruments, Vcv Rack stuff. And there's some really good shizzle in here. So I'm going to get this, which is a modal synthesizer. This is a physical modeling synth. So we'll mix this in so we can take the output of the right and left and actually maybe we duplicate our clouds and we'll use another clouds. This is what's so cool about Vcv Rack. Having 2 clouds in your rack, that's like, it's like $900 right there. So just being able to do this for free is so insane. Let's get a mixer. Mixer. I kind of want a stereo mixer. Do we have a stereo mixer in here? There's not a lot of stereo mixers, it's looking like. This could be cool, binaural mixer. That could be interesting. Let's try this out. Looks funky. So let's take our output. I think that's it. And then let's go into our clouds. And then to mix these, I think we'll need 2 mixers. Well, you can use another quad VCA here. So we want to mix these 2 clouds together. So we can use these first 2 as the right and left of this clouds. So I'm going to put this clouds up here. And then we can use the second 2 for the left and right. Oh, we want to mix the left and the right together. So the way this mixer works is it cascades. So if we take the left and go into this one, and then we take the left and go into this one right underneath it, that's going to mix both the left signals, and we can take that output and go into the left of our final output. So these 2 are now getting mixed into this output, and similarly for the right, we can go in, and then take the output of that and go into the right of our final output. And now we should have our 2 clouds being mixed together. So you're only hearing one, and that's because I need to connect this modal synth to our other sequencer here. So I'll use the gate output to go into the gate input of this. And actually, I'm going to just delete this. I don't think we need this. I'd rather use a VCA for this. So we'll take the left and the right, and then we'll go into the left and the right. That way we can turn it down if we need to. So next thing I'm going to do is plug in the volt per octave. Let's listen to that. So I just think this modal synthesizer here is just such a beautiful thing, especially once you start modulating it, but we haven't really started modulating much stuff yet. But so I'm just going to create a harmony with this and our top oscillator here. So I'm just going to do that now. Yeah, so I was just looking for something that I could use to turn these down all at once a little bit easier, and this is the best thing I think I could find here for that. So this is a pretty cool patch. So what we can do is we can take the output and we can go into, oh, but you know, before I do that, I'm just going to do a little bit of work here with these LFOs. So these LFOs are quite cool. They're all just running like, I think 180 degrees out of phase or 90 degrees out of phase or something. But they have this CV input. So what we can do is we can like start to modulate the speed of the LFO with the other LFO. So let's do some of that. Let's keep all these kind of slow, and I'm just going to start modulating stuff with these. So bear with me. So sometimes modules won't have an attenuator on the CV input. Like if you look here on this one, each of these CV inputs has a little attenuverter, which means you can also invert the signal going in. But you can see on clouds here, it doesn't have an attenuator on it. So what you can use is a thing called either a VCA or an attenuator and you can use either one, but I'm going to use an attenuator. And we'll just grab one of these attenuators here. I'll just put that next to these LFOs so that I can use the attenuator to kind of tame the level. So now it's morphing enough and generative enough for me to kind of want to record it. So I'm going to take our left and our right output. I'm going to go into this recorder. And then I already set up where we're going to record to, which is right here in our, go into my sample pack. And then it's in my longer samples. And then in my idea jams. And then in my idea jams modular and the Vcv Rack. So then I'll call it Vcv tutorial ARP 1. And now I can just start recording this. And then I can hit stop. And now my wave file will be waiting for me. So I'm pretty happy with that patch. There's a lot of complexity in there. We've got oscillators, effects, sequencers, filters, and I am always impressed with how Vcv Rack sounds. You know, maybe modular hardware sounds slightly better, but I'm telling you what, having Vcv Rack makes you feel like a millionaire, because that's literally how much money you would need to be able to use as many of these modules as you want. And like I said, next month, it's going to be a VST, and I think it's only like $100-something bucks. So being able to open this up in the DAW is just going to be absolutely bonkers, insanely incredible. Being able to run stuff through it, I'm sure they're going to have an effects version. I am literally insanely hyped to finally have Instro modules and Mutable Instruments modules inside the DAW. It's going to be so sick, because as much as I love hardware modular, it is a lot slower to work with. So being able to use multiple of each module and being able to patch like this, once you get used to it and get a little bit of a handle on the terminology, it's really unmatched in its complexity. And the organic nature of the way you can create sounds in modular is just absolutely insane. So if you want to save a rack, you just go Control-Shift-S or Save As, and then you can call it Stream Patch. Call it Stream Patch 1, and you can create a folder. So we'll go into I thought I had a VCV Rack place. Let's do I'll just make a new folder in my documents. Of course, sworn I already did this. It must have been on my old computer. VCV Rack user presets. So we'll put our VCV Rack files in there, and you can share these with people and just have a blast. So I can open this if I want to tweak it more whenever I want, and I can just X out of VCV Rack and then open up Ableton, and I'm off to the races when it comes to using that sample in my production. I can chop it up on drum rack or whatever. And yeah, there are ways to send MIDI to VCV Rack from Ableton and send the audio from VCV Rack back into Ableton, and therefore kind of use it as a plugin, but it's pretty clunky and difficult and not something I've mastered yet. I like just using it standalone like I just did, and quite soon we'll be able to just open it up right in the DAW. So download VCV Rack. It's free. Download a bunch of modules. Start messing about. Watch tutorials. There's tons of tutorials online about it. I'll be making more too. And yeah, try it out. Once you get used to the modular workflow, it's like being free, and you always have happy accidents. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that and got a little inspired about modular stuff. And until next time, I'm Sephiros. Check me out on all platforms. I have a Patreon with thousands of samples. I teach lessons on there if you want feedback on your music, etc. And yeah, thank you